Okay, this question asks us, what is the slope of the line x minus y equals negative 2? Slope is a big vocab word, so I'm thinking that's the important word in this question. Okay, slope can either be found with 2 points. You can do it algebraically or graphically, but in this case we have an equation. So if we have an equation, what we need to do is get this into slope-intercept form, which looks like this: y equals mx plus b. In other words, we need to solve for y. Once we have it in this form, the slope is just going to be the coefficient of x. M represents slope in the slope-intercept formula. Okay, so let's come over here. We're going to, let me write it out, the equation one more time here. X minus y equals negative 2. Okay, I've got to get y alone, so the first thing I'm going to do is subtract x from both sides of this equation. So I'm using the inverse property to get rid of this term, because that's going to give me 0, and the identity property says if I add 0, it's not going to change this. So, let me switch to back. Okay, what I'm left with, this is 0. The negative, be careful, that's still there, so the minus in this case becomes a negative y equals, and then commutative property, it does not matter which one I write first. I cannot combine them though, because this is a constant term and this is a variable term. I'm going to write the x term first because that would put it more like slope-intercept form. I don't want to get myself confused in the end. So negative x minus 2. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to get rid of this negative in front. What it is negative 1. This has a coefficient, y has a coefficient of negative 1. So if this is negative 1 times y, what I want to do to get rid of it is divide by negative 1. When I divide the left side, I have to divide both terms. I distribute that division. Okay, so here, again, I use the inverse property, and when this becomes 1, 1 times y goes away because of the identity property. So what I'm left with on the left side is y equals negative divided by negative is positive, 1 divided by 1 is 1. I don't need to write 1 because 1 times x is just x. Negative divided by negative is positive, and 2 divided by 1 is 2. So I've now put this in slope-intercept form. Before I identify the slope, I want to make sure I talk about how I got from line 1 to line 2 to line 3, because that's how they ask it in the SOL. Well, even though I mentioned the inverse and identity properties with both of these steps, what I'm really doing, what is allowing this to be, what am I doing to this that I'm allowed to do that gets me from here to here? Well, what I did is I subtracted x from both sides. So to get from line 1 to line 2, I used the subtraction property of equality. I'm going to abbreviate. Okay, how did I get from line 2 to line 3? Well, I wanted to undo this multiplication by division. I divided each term by negative 1. So the property I used, or axiom they might call it, is the division property of equality. You know, things canceled out, stuff that I didn't show because of identity properties and inverse properties, but the thing that I actively did to get from this line to this line was subtract from both sides, and from this line to this line was divide both sides. So now my final step is to actually answer the question. The question was find the slope. So slope, or m, is equal to, it's the coefficient of x here, the number in front. If I don't see one, identity property says it's the number 1. 1 times x is x. So the slope of this line is 1.